We're going to bring you a wonderful speaker to address this issue, and I'm happy to bring Arnold back onto the stage, who will be interviewing her. She is an inspiring leader, a world-class athlete, and a global icon. She has played and continues to play a very important role in advocating for women, lesbian and gay rights, as well as advocating for underprivileged children. It's my immense pleasure to be able to have Arnold on stage with our special guest, the former professional tennis player and world #1, Martina Navratilova.
We're doing that.
All of it.
This. All right,
all
good
of it,
deal.
baby.
Good
all
deal.
of it,
all right,
brother.
It's all good. It's all good.
Oh, it's reserved for me. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Hello.
Well, if you're okay, I'm going to take mine off.
Oh, we can take it off now?
Yeah, I think we're far enough apart. All righty. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here. Gave me an excuse to travel, which I haven't done much of this last year, just like the rest of the world. So I'm very thrilled to be here. I'm going to say hello, guten tag, privyet, dobrý den, bonjour, and most of all, jambo, bula, and malakin. Malakin is Mayan for hello. So hello.
Very good. Excellent. So we have so much to talk about. So first of all, you're a fascinating person, but we're going to start with, 9 Wimbledon championships and 59 Grand Slam titles. So before we get into all the other spectacular stuff you do, just for sports enthusiasts out here, just tell us, what did it take for you to do that, and what advice would you have for others who are trying to seek some level of success in sports, which clearly few, if any, can achieve that level, but yeah.
Well, it takes a village. But I started when I was 5 years old, but I always loved the sport. So it was in my blood from the get-go. It took me 2 years of playing on the wall before my dad would allow me to be on the court and actually hit with him, because I couldn't hold the racket with one hand. I couldn't hit it forehand. It was with my old grandmother's old racket. But when I was about 8 years old, I wanted to win Wimbledon. I saw Rod Laver play it, and I'm like, I really want to follow in his footsteps. And but I didn't know how big the world was, So it was a big goal, but you don't think about that when you're 8. I just love the sport. So I think the advice that I would give somebody: make sure that you love what you do, because if you're pushed into it, or if you think somewhere down there you'll be happy when you get there, it's not gonna work. You really need to love the process. And so for me, and I've asked this question many other champions, tennis players, and other athletes. I said, was there ever a day that you didn't want to go and do your sport? And that never happened to me. I always wanted to go. But also I come from older times when in the winter I played one hour a week with my coach, so I was thrilled to be on the court. Even in the summer we would play, nothing organized really until I was about 14 years old. Was it really organized? So I played games. I played sets. We played singles, doubles, and so I was never bored. And it wasn't, it was never a chore hitting forehands down the line or cross court for hours on end. That didn't happen ever. So I was always fresh and eager to go. So again, pick what you love, and then no matter what happens, you'll be happy because you enjoy what you're doing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And now your personal journey. You are now an international icon for and a champion of rights for LGBT. And so could you share with us just your personal road to that?
Well, I didn't realize I was gay until I was 19 years old, 18 and change. But I never, we were not a religious country. Actually, religion was kind of against the law in a communist country. So I did not have that kind of, which can become a burden, because a lot of homophobia is based on a religion, so I didn't have that road to climb. And when I realized I was gay, I thought, oh, that's what it is. Okay, my life is going to be more difficult, but it is what it is. And that was that. I didn't have any baggage really that came with it. And even when I was younger and people would speak derisively about homosexuals, I'm like, what's the big deal? How does it affect you? You know, what's the problem? Any kind of prejudice, whether it was color of your skin or your religion or your sexual orientation, it never occurred to me that that should be an issue. What matters is who you are as a person. So I didn't have a problem with it myself, and but I had to keep it quiet because when I defected to America, I waited 5, almost 6 years to get my citizenship. I couldn't talk about it because that could be a disqualifier to become a U.S. citizen back then.
Wow.
So I had to kind of keep quiet until I got my citizenship. Then I could speak freely. So. But,
and then you could have just stayed within yourself. You didn't have to become a champion for rights. So what motivated you to do that?
Well, I always spoke out for the underdogs, whether it's animals or kids, old people, you know, the people that have less than or can't defend themselves, environment. I was always a champion for kind of the liberal causes, or just helping the next guy. I remember almost an old lady wanted to beat me off with an umbrella because I was helping her, trying to help her across the street, and I start picking up her luggage, and she's like, "Get away from me!" So, then I did that in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago. I was in California for Tennis Channel when we were calling the Australian Open, and I was trying to help people with their groceries a couple of times, and like, no, stay away. Kind of the same end result, right? But they're very strict in California about COVID, so I'm like, oh, that's why they told me to stay away. So a bit ignorant on that front, but yeah, always try to help the other guy, and of course LGBT has been close to me because I was affected by it. Not the way I didn't lose my job, so I didn't have to worry about that, which many people still have to worry about. But it did affect me in many ways, with the media, particularly with the fans also. You know, I would walk on the court, #1 in the world, playing Chris Evert, the match that everybody would want, right? And everybody clapped when Chris was introduced on the court, but when they introduced me, it was muted, let's say, muted applause, or people were even whistling and cheering or booing. So. And I don't think it was because they didn't like my tennis, right? So it was tough, but you know, I was a little ahead of my time on that front, I guess. Yeah.
Well, you're ahead of your time in a lot of ways, in many things, including, you know, the force you are in tennis. And so, since we're focused here at WTTC in this particular session on championing women's rights, can you just share with everyone what it was like? You fought for, you know, equal pay and the tournaments, et cetera, and just share your perspective and your experiences on it.
Sure. Well, so it was a bit of a surprise to me when I came to America that women were not supported the way we were supported. Perhaps that was the only good thing about a communist country. Women were, and athletes particularly, were supported. If you brought a medal from the Olympics, it didn't matter if you were a man or a woman. It was a medal for the country. So I was always encouraged to do sport, never was saying, oh, girls don't do that. But then when I came to America, and it's like, oh, girls, you be a cheerleader and let the boys play basketball and football. I'm like, what is this? So, and then, of course, you realize how women don't get paid the same amount for the same work. Again, that was not the case in a communist country, although there were never any women in position of power, you know, with the Communist Party. That was always men, but within doctors, professors, that was very common, where women were represented as much as men and get paid the same salary. Salary sucked, but you got paid the same. So it was a bit of a surprise. And then, of course, on the women's tennis tour, we ended up going our separate ways, so that we would get better prize money because the ratio was like 10-1 at some events, where men would get 10 times as much money as the women. On the majors, the Grand Slams like Wimbledon, it wasn't that big a difference, maybe 5 to 10%, but it's still 5 to 10%, and that adds up over time, as we know. So fought for equal prize money for women at the majors, and finally, I think it was 2007 that we finally got it. Wimbledon, I believe, was the last holdout for that. Actually, one of the excuses, they said, well, we need money for the petunias. Not kidding. We need money in the budget for the flowers, and that should come out of our own prize money, apparently not the men's prize money, whatever.
Wow.
So that was just an excuse, but you know, they were kind of poking fun. But anyway, we finally got equal prize money, but it still is a fight in the rest of the world. Of course, the majors, okay, we get equal prize money, but when it comes to total prize money for men and women, men still make more because corporations run by men. They're much more likely to sponsor men's sport than women's sport. And if we, God forbid, fail, nobody will touch us. So you have to really, because, oh, it's women's sport. Meantime, the NFL, I think they got started like 5 or 6 times before it finally stuck. But nobody said, oh, men's sport, you know, no, we don't want to support it. So women always have to outperform. As we say, what is it, under promise and over deliver. Right, so we did, but it still is a battle around the world because yeah.
Well, it wasn't always easy, even though you were a champion and everybody, you know, knew you and so many people respected your talent. But at the same time, you know, you were getting pushed back, you were getting jeers, you know, things were happening across the board. So for those who may not have quite the platform you have, and maybe not even the intestinal fortitude you have, what would you suggest to them as ways that they can continue to make a difference as women and people of colors and other, you know, struggle for social justice and social equity?
You're not talking corporations, you're talking people.
Individual people.
Individuals. Well, just speak up, you know. Everybody can make a difference. It's even when you recycle your bottles, you say, oh, it's just one bottle, but over a period of time, over a year, you know, you probably fill up a truck, and then you multiply it. So no matter, some people have bigger platforms than others, but we all have the opportunity to make a difference. So for me, it's supporting businesses that are run by women, that are run by people of color, underrepresented communities, supporting it financially, and just speaking out whenever you see any kind of an injustice. Maybe going to a local club or you know, homeless shelter and say, what can I do?
What can I do?
Yeah, how can I help? You know, whether it's to cook a meal once a week or deliver the meals or collect shoes from your neighborhood and bringing them to the you know, everybody can make a difference if you make an effort, if you just see what your possibilities are, what your time is. And it doesn't take money, it takes time. But of course, time is, you can't ever replace that, so use it wisely. But we all can make a difference, and whether it's this much or this much, or this much can become that much, so.
Okay. So, you know, you've had excellence in so many different areas. So what caused you, or how did you decide to pivot from tennis to, I mean, you've done a lot of stuff. You've written mystery novels, you've been engaged with so many charitable organizations. So as people look at career changes and just life changes, what stories could you share or experiences could you share to give perspective on?
Just that well, I don't even know which way to go with this, but no matter what you do, you can always improve. And if you have to make a difference, or if you're tired, or if you want to do something else, I'd say go for it, because you can always go back to doing what you were doing before, whether it's for a tennis player, changing your technique and trying out new things. If it doesn't work, you go back to how you were doing it. But chances are you probably are going to do it better with the new stuff. So don't be afraid to take a chance, make adjustments. I totally changed my footwork for tennis when I was 30. Let's see, I won 8 Wimbledons, and I came to Billie Jean King. I said, I don't know, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm trying just as really hard. She says, oh, you burned out. You need to make sure that you really love to play tennis. So I did that, and then we realized that the footwork has completely changed. It used to be this old-fashioned tennis, this cross step, right? Cross step. Now it's this. So I went from doing this to doing this. How do you rewire that? I've been doing that for 30 years. Talk about teaching an old dog new tricks. So there is Billie Jean hitting the ball to me from here, just literally dropping it, and I go left foot and then right foot. And then she goes from like here to here, and again left foot hit. And then finally service line to service line. I graduated, and then baseline to baseline. If you had been walking by the court watching me play, you'd think I was a total beginner. But I wanted to win that 9th Wimbledon title because that was the record. So I totally rewired my brain. It took about a good 6 months before it became natural. Now, if I had to do this, I couldn't. I had to rewire it back again. So the point is, don't be afraid to try new things and evolve and change. And, you know,
And put the work
I was
in.
never afraid of change.
And put the work in.
Put the work in.
Right. So I asked you about individual empowerment, but because opportunities for women and marginalized groups in leadership have been limited, how do those in positions of power, whether it's corporations, leaders, associations, governments, whatever, create more space, for women and for marginalized groups, and from your perspective and experience?
How
do people in power create more space? We talk about individual empowerment,
Yeah.
but now we can talk companies and
Yeah,
governments.
yeah.
And,
Well, I think the change needs to come from both the top and the bottom. Yeah, so you have the grassroots and give women the opportunity, etc. But change happens a lot quicker when it comes from the top.
Right.
And the problem, I think you have to shine the light on the fact that it is happening. What I don't understand is these corporations, the big companies, they are so homogenous at the top, but they're serving everybody, right? Their customer base is extremely diverse, but the people in position of power of that company, not so diverse. How do you know how to serve the whole community when you have nobody to tell you what you need to be doing? It's so obvious. Board of directors, same thing. Women, you need more diversity, but you just don't have it. And we talk about diversity within companies. Maybe you have different religions, but it still is mostly men. This pandemic changed everybody's life. I didn't have to make that many adjustments overall. Didn't get to travel. Didn't see my sister. Didn't make it to Europe, except for the French Open. I learned how to cook a lot better. and I don't have a job. I mean, I do this and I talk about tennis, but I'm pretty free. I drive my kid to school, pick her up, but during the day I have all this time. And I'm so tired of cooking. Meantime, I can order from Whole Foods, so I can go there. Everything at my fingertips, but I'm like, I'm so tired. And I cannot get the meal ready on time. It's always 15 minutes late, 30 minutes late. And I'm like, how did my mother do this? In a communist country where you had to wait in line to buy bread and milk. We had to get milk every other day because we didn't have a refrigerator. So she has to go shopping every other day, hoping that there'll be food there that she can cook. But we had that fabulous meal every night with soup and a main course with vegetables and whatever meat and potatoes or rice. And then something sweet that she baked. I don't know when she did this. I don't know how she did it. But she's a woman. Women multitask. They figure shit out. So it really behooves these companies. They will be more profitable if they have more women in positions of power. So I just don't understand. I don't understand. So I can tell you should do it, but it really is a good idea. It just makes sense. So I think maybe people just don't recognize it, don't realize it. And all things being equal, give the chance to the woman. We shouldn't have to be better than. We should just be as good and then give us the opportunity. But, women don't advocate for themselves. We're not as cocky as men. We're just not. Or confident, that the confidence, look, give me one thing that a boy wants to do that he would be discouraged from, other than maybe be a ballerina, right? Give me one thing that a boy, the parents would say, no, you shouldn't do this. But girls go through that all the time. Whether it's a particular profession or a sport, or want to be a singer, I mean, they don't get the encouragement that boys do. So of course, because you don't get the encouragement, you don't have the confidence. But guys have it, and then they play sports, they get involved, and they network and all of this. They're always supported, so of course they have the confidence. Yeah, I can do this job. A guy comes in a company and there's 20 guys in the room and 5 women, and he says, okay, this is the job, who can do it? And the woman says, well, I can, to herself, I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I can't do 6. Oh no, I'm not gonna raise my hand. A guy says, I can do 1, 2, I can get help from this one on 3, I can get help from this one on 4. Yeah, I can do it. Women don't raise their hands. So I think it behooves, again, the top guy or woman to recognize who has the ability to do this and say, you do this, you do that, rather than who can do it, because the guy is always going to raise their hand. So I think the change really can happen so much quicker if it comes from the top.
Yeah. So from the top, but also self-advocacy.
And self-advocacy. If you're not going to speak out for yourself, who will? I mean, I was never discouraged. I was always kind of encouraged. I remember my mom telling me when I was still in kindergarten, I was 5 years old, chasing this boy who ended up my schoolmate. And I was beating him in these foot races, and I was bragging to my mom that I beat him, and because he was the fastest boy. And she says, oh, but you're a girl, you should let him win once in a while. That's the only time I had any discouragement. But I listened to my mother in everything. Like, I did not get a tattoo because she doesn't like tattoos, so I don't have a tattoo even though I wanted one. But I didn't listen to her in that. I just didn't beat him by as much. But I still beat him. But anyway, if you don't advocate for yourself, who will advocate for you? So it has to start with you. So speak up.
Good deal, good deal. In the end, did you get a lot of support from the Tennis Association and others as you tried to make the changes that you made? And did you?
Well, you mean, I was always supported. I was never, in my job or within the tennis community, we always support each other. So that was never an issue. So that was all good, yeah.
Okay, good. So you mentioned at the beginning here that you haven't traveled much, given the situation with COVID, but you are a world traveler. And so, what has travel and tourism meant for you personally in your own development and evolution as a person? And what could you share with this
Well,
group?
we tennis players, we're nomads. We're on the road all the time. So it was really strange to be home and not be able to do the things that I wanted to. And once I retired, I said, okay, I had my bucket list, things that I wanted to do. And I still have it. The only thing that I have done that I wanted to do was
some of the things on your bucket list?
I found Machu Picchu, Galapagos, Alaska, and I wanted to go to Africa. So the Africa bit I did. I actually spent 6 months in Kenya, but 2 months 1 year and 3 months another. I went to Tanzania. And loved every second of it, but I still haven't done the other things. So, and I really, really want to see the blue whale in the Antarctica in person. I really, 120 feet long, I mean, the magic. So there's so many animals that I would still like to see in the wild. We saw a fox yesterday. I went to one of the cenotes, and a little thing was running around. I'm like, that's a squirrel? No, it's a cat. It looked like a hairless cat, which we actually have at home, but it was a fox.
It was a fox.
It was brown. It was very gray, short, tiny thing. I was just looking at it. Oh, I was so excited.
Fantastic. And then what about Antarctica? Is that on your list?
Antarctica, I would like to go there as well. Yeah, see the penguins and
you get the sea migration, the mesh with the migration in Africa.
Yeah, I saw the Masai Mara migration. That was magic. Yeah.
Yeah. No matter what age you are, no matter what nationality, ethnicity, gender, when you see that migration, there's something
magic,
in
yeah.
our DNA. And
Well,
it's
I mean, Kenya.
elevation of human spirit.
Yeah, it's only going Ngorongoro crater. You feel like it could be. It was the same as it was 10,000 years ago. It's magic. But I mean, I've traveled the world, but I haven't really seen enough of it. I still want to go to Japan. I've been to Japan about 30 times.
Yeah.
But it's Osaka, Tokyo, Kyoto, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. That's about it. I have not seen the countryside.
time.
Same with Australia. I've been there probably 30 times also, but the only time I saw the Ayers Rock was from the airplane from 30,000 feet up. So, yeah, I love to, just the cultures and the different languages and people and the food. I love the food. Love to
Well,
try
the
new
world is
things.
going to learn to, it's going to manage the pandemic and then learn to live with the virus. So we'll all be
It
able
can
to
be
travel
done.
freely.
It can be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, look, let's see what's going on in India right now, and the heart just breaks. So yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, so you're involved with a lot of charities. You mentioned you
Yes.
love animals and stuff. So let's just go through the ones you're involved in. Tell us about them, what you love about them, and why you're engaged. And you're involved with quite a few. So
Yeah, well,
let's start.
I've been over the years lots of environmental charities. The
So
World Wildlife
talk about
Fund.
your perspective on the environment.
Save the Rhino. I've been a member there for since I went to Kenya first time about 25 years ago, and animals that was so plentiful, and now because of people's greed, they kill the rhinos for the horn, and because they want a nice dagger for their handle for the dagger. Just trying to raise awareness and help out any which way that I can. Again, the platform is huge, and I like to do my part. But the animals, I think, speak to me more than anything because they really are kind of the last creatures on the totem pole, and they can advocate for themselves. So yeah, I've always been involved in that. LGBT rights, of course, which we've come a long way, particularly in America. Europe is great, but there are still countries where homosexuality can be punished not just by prison but by death. We have a long way to go in that. Many of these laws are leftovers from the British Empire colonization. They brought up these laws against homosexuality, and they're still on the books even though Britain left. So yeah, there's a lot of damage to be undone around the world. So I just speak up when I can.
Okay, good deal. And on the environment, is there any particular aspect that particularly touches you? Yeah.
Well, global warming, hello. I mean, I have yet to watch there's a seaspiracy.
Seaspiracy or whatever.
When you see birds dying from plastic inside their bellies and they're 1,500 miles from the nearest landfall, living on an island 1,500 miles from the nearest land, it's everywhere. So I just try to do my part. And I'm still I don't want to use that word. Wait a minute. What am I? Police. I police my family to make sure they do the recycling. I'm still diving into the trash can, make sure things are in the right place. Yeah.
Good deal. Good. Okay. And then your mother. And so, what advice would you have for young women? So what are you telling your daughters, and what advice do you have for the rest of us that have daughters?
Again, it's about confidence. My daughters are 15 and 19. My wife and I have been together for 13 years now, so I pretty much have raised them with her. And they're still so affected by the social media and what everybody else thinks. And I'm just keep trying to instill the confidence in them to believe in themselves and to know that they're good enough. Whatever they want to do, and they are beautiful, but it's a plus. That's not anything they had anything to do with. That was their good DNA from the parents. I had nothing to do with that, certainly. But just give them that self-confidence that they're good enough, and not let anybody set any limits. You're the only one that can set limits for yourself. So I encourage people, not just my kids, but when my younger one says, "Oh, this one is always so negative," I'm like, just walk away. Walk away from the naysayers. Walk away from the negative feeling. The people that you're on the phone, you can't wait to get off the phone, right? It's like you hang up. Phew. Thank God I don't have to talk to him or her for another week. those are the people that you just stay away from whenever you can. Of course, at work, you have to figure it out and maybe adjust and, hold your tongue or whatever. But if you have the power to walk away from that, do. Just hang out with people that feed your soul. And then you can feed theirs too. But people that don't feed your soul, their soul's not open to yours. So just walk away. Yeah.
So as you look at their education and their development, are there any things experiences you're specifically encouraging them to have or to avoid? Or?
Avoid stress. I learned the hard way when I was diagnosed with breast cancer how much stress exhausts you. And they were both, older ones in college now, but they were both stressing so much about exams. Now the finals are coming, right? The older one, second year in college, the younger one, second year in high school. She's like, oh, these exams, and if I don't get, 85 on this test, then I'm gonna get a B+ for the year, and it's gonna bring down my average, and then I won't get into the school I wanna get to, and which means I'm not gonna get the job I want to. I'm like, seriously? Because of one exam, this is the stress? It's like me stressing about one shot. No, I get to hit another shot in 30 seconds. So just put things in perspective and don't think that you're as good as that exam or as that grade or as that result, because you're not. What matters is what's deep inside. And I keep telling them, if I'm in a company and I'm interviewing people, yeah, okay, pay attention which school they went to and what they did. But the biggest thing for me is one-on-one with that person. Who are they? What do you bring to the table? How does your mind work? How do you react? How do you respond? What's really important to you? What do you bring to the table? Not where you went to school. You have to. For me, that's much more important. I don't know if when you hire people, you look at which school they went to or who they are as a human being.
We look at everything.
Right?
But the most important thing is who they are
exactly.
and what evidence we have that they can deliver results.
Right,
Yeah.
so that grade is, about this much of that whole big picture. So I just try to take that stress away and again, be confident and know that they're good enough and it's going to be okay. It's not the end all.
Good deal. So as you share your life experiences with them, as you look to help them develop and to the individuals they're going to become, what are the things through all the different aspects, whether it's, in tennis and promoting women's rights in tennis, LGBT support, your travel experiences, all these things we've talked about. What are some of the unique experiences that stand out in your mind in those different segments of your life, including your life as an author? So just share with the audience, because everybody, you're an icon, so they want to know about you. So
I've done a lot of things. When I first retired, I was worried that I wouldn't have enough to do, which was 1994. And so I said yes to everything. And I ended up traveling more than I ever did when I was playing, but it was only like 1 day here, 2 days here, 3 days there. I was exhausted. So the next year I said no to everything. Then I didn't do enough. But finally, 97, the third year, I got it right, and I was like, okay. And then a couple of years later, I realized, I could still play doubles. So I went back in 2000. I just thought I'd play a couple tournaments. I got the bug back so much, and I realized how much I loved the sport. When I quit in 94, I'm like, I don't need to hit another tennis ball the rest of my life. I'm good. And then I got the bug back, and I played for 6 years on the tour because I knew I could still get better. I could still play better than I'm playing right now, so I stuck with it. And finally, 6 years, 2006, I'm like, okay, I can only get worse now. I cannot get any better. But I just loved it, It was still a challenge because the game has changed so much, and I had to evolve with it. My style is completely different than it was when I first started. And that's kind of fun, too, that you can always improve and be challenged. So I love that experience of still trying to get better, getting into the nitty-gritty of things and, talking smack with my coach and just really getting into it.
So lifelong learning, continuous improvement.
Absolutely. Billie Jean said she's never seen the ball come over the net the same way twice. Something's always a little bit different. So again, I was never bored. I was always excited to get out there, and I always love to share that knowledge and help others. So whatever it is. But so Didn't do enough, so then I went to Kenya. I spent a lot of time there. I did some woodworking. I built some tables. When I was in Kenya, I realized it's much better to fly than to drive, because it could be 30 miles away, but it takes you 2 hours to get there. So I learned how to fly. I had a pilot's license. And let's see, that's about it. And I did all the sports, and yeah, just love life. I'm waiting to get vaccinated. I was a pilot. I don't have my license because I started playing, so then I didn't stay current. But I know what's going on when I'm on the airplane, so I'm feeling pretty confident when they're flying the plane. Yeah.
Wow. And then the mystery novel, what motivated you to do that?
I wrote mystery novels.
Right?
Yeah, we wrote 3. There was a writer that came to me and said, "Would you like to write mystery novels in the tennis world?" I'm like, "Oh, I never thought about that." So we did a collaboration, and actually now she's coming back to me. Maybe we try to modernize it and put it into a series for TV. So we'll see what happens with that.
Really?
But yeah,
fantastic.
my favorite thing was, though, I did a bit of a part on The Politician, which is a series with Gwyneth Paltrow. And I was in like 3 episodes, and I got to play somebody else, which was great, because it didn't matter what I said, because I'm not responsible for it. I'm just reading the script. And in fact, my very first line in the show was, "Are you fucking kidding me?" is what I said. And it was Gwyneth and I were riding a horse towards each other. I was like the instructor, and we apparently had an affair, but this was the first time I just met her. And she's riding a horse, I'm riding a horse. She says, you know, Bridget is my name. "I can't do this, I can't be with you." And I said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And then we rode the horses the other way around. So that was my acting debut.
Line,
but it was so much fun to be somebody else. You're not responsible for what you say. It's great.
So you ride horses too, then?
I ride horses, yes. I ride horses. Anything with an engine. I either flew it or I drove it. I like driving fast. Thankfully, I have not gotten too many speeding tickets. But yeah, I drove 200 miles on the Autobahn. Long time ago, before there was so much traffic, in a Porsche 959.
200 miles, not 200
200 miles
kilometers.
an hour, 305 kilometers an hour, yeah.
No, very good.
We averaged like 150 miles an hour over 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you pass police going, 160, and you don't have to slow down. It's great.
All right. So, you've done so much, and we're, really focused on the women's rights issues now, and just not just women, but especially women in this session.
Right.
And so, again, you've shared with Carper, you've shared a little bit on the individual side. Any other thoughts you have for us as an organization, for WTTC, in terms of what we can do to help catalyze and advance?
Well, it's like with the Black Lives Matter, with the protests. When it's just black people protesting against violence, it doesn't have as much impact as when everybody protests. And just like when women speak out for other women, that's great, but we need allies. We need men to speak up also. Men have gotten a lot better when it comes to sports, because they have daughters now, and they want the daughters to have as much of an opportunity as their sons. But men in positions of power still don't quite speak out enough. So, we need help. Every little bit helps, and you can't speak out too much. Yeah, squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? So you can't really overdo it. So yeah.
So make sure we speak up, but we'll do that in a few minutes. And so, any other things you'd like to share personally that maybe you haven't written in your autobiography, or you haven't, shared as much, that would make this audience feel especially special, because Martina told us this, and she hadn't shared it. Any one singular experience, anywhere, anytime, in any aspect of your life.
Oh, well, there was an interesting experience just last week where we were hiding about 150 chickens from the Department of Agriculture or whatever, because you're only supposed to have 25, and we have more than that. So we were hiding them in the bathroom while the inspector was there, and we succeeded. My wife sells chicken eggs now.
So
she's a regular chickens and ducks. Yeah, there were like 20 ducks in a bathtub and a bunch of chickens. And then when the inspector left and we went back, there was a duck egg in the bathtub. The ducks laid an egg. And of course, there was a couple chicken eggs in the bathroom. That was an interesting day.
And you know you're now busted. You know
I'm
that,
busted.
right?
Well, they can't come in anymore. But we have a nasty neighbor who just keeps complaining about us. She called the police on us for too loud music coming from our house. Meantime, we were inside. There wasn't even nobody outside. Yeah, so you can't pick your neighbors just like you can't pick your parents, right? But try not to make her mad. But what can I tell you? I can cook.
Talk a little bit about the chickens and the farm and all that, and where you are. Are you in a city or are you
so we
at
live
a
in
ranch?
Fort Lauderdale at the moment. We have 1 acre, but you would think that we have like 10 acres because we have goats, we have chickens, we have geese, a flying squirrel, parrots, Galapagos tortoises. We have a couple of those.
Really?
And of course, dogs and cats. It's a busy household. We get a discount from the vet. We get a group discount, but it's never a dull moment. And my wife takes care of just about all of it. I just help walk the dogs. Yeah, I just look. People, champions adjust. We've had to make so many adjustments in this past year, and this is the first time that the whole world was affected at the same time. Even World War II. You think about all the wars that there have been. It affects a very specific area of the world, but not the whole world. Even 9/11, okay, it hit New York, it was horrible, but people in Los Angeles or Chicago or anywhere else, they were watching it on the news. This affects the whole world, and of course it's staggered, unfortunately. So you see different areas, and everybody's had to make adjustments. And before, if you walk around with a mask, people would look at you funny, unless you were like from Japan, where they would wear the mask all the time. So we had to make adjustments, but you just suck it up and do the best that you can, and know that it's going to get better, and tomorrow's another day. So,
And it is getting better.
It is getting better.
It's getting
The
better.
vaccine, I mean, I tell you, once I got the vaccination, so much stress left me, and I felt so fortunate. And yeah, we're lucky to be here. It sucks right now, but we see the end of the tunnel, right? And it's going to be amazing once we get back to normal or semi-normal. And we'll have a lot cleaner bathrooms. Public restrooms will always be cleaner than they've ever been before. So always have to look at the bright side.
But was pretty impressed. They wiped down the chairs before we got
everything is wiped down, but it's been tough, and we've all had to make our adjustments. And you just get on with it. You just get on with it. What's the option, right? What is the people say? Oh, you stay in such good shape. What's the alternative? Well, I have put on a few COVID pounds, but not too bad. But what's the alternative? You just can't give up. You have to, playing tennis teaches you a lot of good lessons for life. And you just, you lose a point. It's just 1 point. You go to the next one, right?
Excellent. So look, you've been generous with your time and sharing a lot of personal stuff. You're an absolute icon. I mean, you're an outstanding champion in tennis. Again, 59 Grand Slams.
Could we ask, maybe people have a question from the audience? Or is that not on the menu?
It wasn't on the
okay?
menu. We're not quite set up for it, and we're a little pressed for time.
We're pressed for time?
Yeah, so I will,
No
in a second here, invite Gloria, but I do want to acknowledge you properly by saying that, you're a champion, but you've also gone way beyond that in your charitable work. You're making an impact on the environment. You've made an impact on women's rights, an impact on LGBT rights. And you've had an impact in so many other ways. An accomplished author, a former pilot. I mean, you're a very unique person. And I think the message in that is, and with you, you're in the public, everybody can see it. But if you weren't encouraged when you were young, and continue to be encouraged along the way, all the wonderful contributions we've all enjoyed from you being on this planet, we would have missed out on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I think that's what we have to keep in mind for all those that follow, that we have to encourage them to say, go right ahead.
Exactly. So thank you so much. Yeah, I would like to say to people, if you want to do anything, you encourage those around you, the people that are dear to you, follow their dreams, do their best. And for you personally and for anybody else, don't ever be afraid to get outside of your comfort zone. I have been outside of my comfort zone a big chunk of my life, especially when I was flying that airplane for the first time by myself. But you just just go for it, you know? You can always go back to the safe place. But when you're out there, outside of your comfort zone, a little bit pushing it a little bit, that's when you really come alive, and that's when magic happens. So don't be afraid to get outside of your comfort zone. Go for it.
So Martina Navratilova. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So stay up. I'd like to.
Thank you. See my butt.
Hey, we can do this. I won't get too close.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
righty.